I hope you all had a wonderful Monday. It's going to be a fun week. We're going to have some crossover with baseball and basketball, which should be interesting, especially in the most volatile time of the year in basketball. And to be fair, like the sites are treating it like that. They've changed the structure for the tournaments. Fortunately for Wednesday, when we have our live sweat show, it's going to be the $1 million tournament, the 3,000.
Let's go.
That's the one we got to get. But this is, as Sheets would say, we'll call this the springboard slate, and hopefully getting us in position to win that one. Hopefully we could have a big run. But I actually, the NBA is volatile and it drives me crazy this time of year. But I also feel like there is some serious edge to be gained by certain speculation. So I'm excited. I'm pumped up for another week of NBA. We've got baseball at the end of the week. We got a lot of stuff going on with the site. We're going to start revamping it at some point to try to make it a little bit more user-friendly for you all. Any advice or thoughts you have, please feel free to put it in the Discord under either TrueDFS support. That's probably the best place to put it. But we would love to hear your thoughts, and feel free to tag me just so I make sure that I see it, because I do want to make sure we're getting things the way that you guys want. We want to cater to our premium users the most. So, Sheets, how was your weekend? I know you had a nice win in golf yesterday, and Sheets plays all the slates, man. He wins the golf slate that I didn't even know existed. Sheets, talk a little bit about that, then we'll jump into the slate.
Yeah, I played both the match play and the classic slate. So the match play, again, I did okay. I got I don't wonder how Kenny ended up, because Kenny was really killing it for
he killed it, but then he ended up unfortunately his guys weren't in the final four.
That's what happened with me too. I had 80% like JJ Spawn, who was freaking styling on people. Mm-hmm. And but I also had 70% Hatton, who couldn't do anything, so I couldn't get the right combination. I had a couple of guys make the final four, but not I didn't dominate. There were some lineups out there, dude, that had 6 guys. They all made it. And they all of them were in the final. It was crazy. There were some really, really well put together lineups out there. It was tough to win. But then I played the Corrales, just the regular classic slate, which I really just liked, and it ended up in the single entry, just being in first after day 3, and kind of shuffling around and being in first after day 4, which was good. And I won and I also got 8th in the 555, the signature hole, for a couple of thousand. So that was beautiful. So that was pretty strong. And good. Also, it's always good to get a break from NBA. So but you can't avoid it forever. So we're back in the NBA and ready to tackle the slate of a combination of teams that are playing nobody to teams that really need to win. So we'll see what happens.
And oddly, in that combination, the games, I just want to point out something. This year, I'm almost positive that I haven't gone through all the numbers, but certainly lately, these teams that are 11-1 and 10-1 underdogs in an NBA game, you just should be betting them pretty much all the time. I don't almost care who the matchup is. Right, we had 2 games in a row, whereas 10-1 favorites that the Mavericks lost in a must-win to a Charlotte team that didn't care about winning. They lost as 16.5-point favorites and 11-point favorites, and it's just crazy what's happening. So I'm not going to just keep assuming the massive blowouts. I'll keep an eye on it. We're gonna run into it with some early games here, but just something to keep in mind. These teams with quote unquote nothing to play for, they also have nothing to lose by playing all their borderline guys, and you get a couple hot nights from guys like Gordon Hayward, who's trying to play for next year's contract, which they're letting him do, and that's what happens sometimes. So. We'll get into it today because I think it is somewhat relevant for some of the games that we're going to talk about. You ready to go game by game here?
Yes.
All right. Dallas and Indy, which is right off the bat the game that you're definitely going to want exposure to. So priority-wise, Kyrie is number 1 for me. Number 2 is Christian Wood. I do think there's some variance with Christian Wood here. I think that they're going to probably end up giving him pretty decent run. They've been horrible. They didn't play him much in the last games with Luka and Kyrie both playing. And with Luka and Kyrie has been their worst lineup in all of the NBA. They're 3-8, I believe, with the 2 of them. And I think you're going to see some more Christian Wood minutes tonight in a phenomenal matchup. But I think that if he ends up 40 or 50% owned, we might have to be thinking about a fade if he doesn't start. And he probably won't start. He's been coming off the bench the whole time. Maybe Jason Kidd shakes it up. If he starts, I think you basically almost want to lock him in, at least at early look. But I do think that the Christian Wood thing is the kind of fade that I don't mind usually making. It seems like today they would try to rely on him because they haven't, and it hasn't worked. and they're going to need some, some more than just Kyrie scoring. So I have Kyrie then Christian Wood, and I think as a large field GPP play, like maybe not even large field, but Jaden Hardy is certainly in play. As is Tim Hardaway, but I would put Hardy a little bit ahead of him just because we've seen that crazy ceiling. And Josh Green, I have all four of those guys, but the ones that are priorities right now are Kyrie and Christian Wood. And this is a good game to try to attack. We're going to, assuming that Halliburton plays, I really like Halliburton on the other side of this game. I don't have a great read on whether he will. He's played some of the games lately. He hasn't played other ones. You could argue that they're shutting it down and they want to get, improve their lottery balls and all that stuff. But at the same time, they're only 3.5 games out of the 10, although that's probably too much. So maybe this is where they shut Halliburton down. We get the value on the other side. This becomes a stackable game. As of right now, the only one who's really showing up for me is maybe a little bit of Isaiah Jackson. They've played him some minutes lately, but that's also because Miles Turner is questionable. So really hard with Turner and Halliburton questionable. If those two guys sit, I think we're going to try to stack up this game. I just want to remind everybody that playing too many guys from Indiana can be a recipe for disaster with how many guys they end up playing. They just have an incredibly deep, not necessarily talented, but a deep roster of guys that are sort of, in and out. Jordan Nwora is my other favorite play at first look, along with Halliburton. He's been really good, and they like him pretty clearly. As of right now, he's supposed to be coming off the bench, but we just saw him put up 45 the other day. Huge range of outcomes, but massively high ceiling. So that's pretty much what my look right now is: Kyrie, Wood, Halliburton, Nwora. But we don't even know whether Halliburton and Turner are playing, and that could change the whole slate. So good news is we'll know before lock.
I would add to the Dallas mix, Maxi Kleber 3,600. Aside from that, you went over most of the guys. I have Kyrie and Christian Wood, two of the top plays, and I have Kleber as a good value. And on Indiana, like you mentioned, I mean, I think if Halliburton and Wood, and Turner play, I like those two. I think that if both of them are out, for example, then, like you said, Isaiah Jackson and then all the other guys. I think even if Turner is out, if Turner is out, then we go with Isaiah Jackson if he's starting, I presume. Mm-hmm. And if Halliburton's out, we go with the normal guards, I imagine. But the good thing is it's 7:00 game, and it's always kind of a double-edged sword to take such a big stand on the first game of a big slate, especially when you have all that value at 10:00 that you're gonna have to deal with. I wouldn't mind this. Kyrie, Wood, Kleber. You mentioned the guys that can actually play, like Hardy, Green, and whoever instead of Kleber or whatever. But I like those top three. And then, like I said, it depends who's playing for Indiana, but we'll know that before long.
Yep, absolutely. And it is, I mean, for what it's worth, this should be a very, very good, well-paced matchup and a game that should provide a lot of fantasy goodness, as people say in the industry. So moving on, next up, you have Detroit and Milwaukee. This is one of those games with a huge spread. Milwaukee as an 18-point favorite, I believe. It's a pretty wild.
That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing to be an 18-point favorite on the road. Because of it, I think that you're going to get low ownership on some of the Milwaukee pieces. I'm never going to say no to Holiday and Giannis. Giannis was my other mistake. I only got the 2.5 quarters out of him the other night on Friday. And I really should have found a way to pivot over to Embiid. The problem was I just had 3 point guards in all my spots, so I didn't have the utility available. And I used other centers that actually did very well, but not as well as Embiid, of course, who I think was the highest scoring player on the slate. Anyway, Giannis and Holiday, I think, are both interesting large field tournament plays. I think with Middleton there, I don't think that Connaughton is the same play. I also don't expect him to be as hot as he was. He was amazing at 5% ownership the other night. He put up 39 fantasy points and made like 8 threes or something. These Detroit guys, everybody looks okay, but nobody that I want to target. And I think we're just gonna have better stuff on this slate. Anybody for you?
Yeah, I think that as usual, Durant looks reasonable enough. I'd love for him to be able to play 30 minutes somehow, but doesn't seem to be the cards right now. So listen, I think Giannis is a good play. I mean, he's gonna get. He'll get 60. I think. You know what I mean? Like, even if the game blows out, he'll get 60. So I guess it's reasonable, but I don't know if I like him more than Jokic, for example. But I don't know. They haven't projected like exactly the same. But you'd like to think that the Jokic game you're more guaranteed those minutes than the Milwaukee game. So I don't know. Giannis, okay, but definitely comes with some blowout risk.
Yeah. And it's funny because Detroit is shorthanded, but I can't figure out. I just can't find anybody that I feel really, really good about. And even Duran, we're talking about him off the bench behind Wiseman and Bagley, and it's just, well, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the solo game at the 7:30 Houston and New York. As of right now, I think that taking a shot on now, and it's not like Jalen Green is so incredible yet that playing him at Madison Square Garden is the same as some of the other guys we're talking about. But I do think that kind of thing is like if he gets off to any sort of a reasonably hot start, you're going to just see him go, taking every shot. I also wouldn't be surprised if Houston does something. If I'm not mistaken, they played yesterday and they're not really playing for anything. So seeming like they, without even putting a question mark, we'll see how this Monday, the shoot around goes. But as of right now, it would be just Jalen Green on Houston for me. And then we've got Brunson questionable on the other side. Obviously, if he's out, we know we like Randall, some combination of quickly for sure, but then of Randall, Barrett, Hart, and Quentin Grimes, all of those guys become much more in play without Brunson. Assuming that Brunson does play, I think Brunson is fine. I think Randall's fine. And I think Mitch Rob is fine. I just don't feel desperate to play any of this. How about you?
So last I checked, the Knicks were like in the 5. I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, they're the 5 right now.
Do they have a chance to make the 4?
No.
Okay.
But they can hold up. They would like to hold up the 5 and not have to play one of Philly or Boston in the first round.
Right.
And the Cavs are tough too, but like Philly, Boston, and Milwaukee are a little bit a tier above, I think.
Well, I mean, Houston doesn't really play the greatest defense. So, I mean, these Knicks are pretty good. If Brunson plays, I like him. Randall, I like him. Mitch Rob at 4,800, I like that also. On the Houston side, I mean, obviously it would make things a little easier if they ruled somebody out. But you know what? I think everybody wants to play in Madison Square Garden. I think everybody's going to play. That's the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as Jalen Green will shoot every time he touches the ball, I certainly don't believe Jabari Smith Jr. is particularly shy either. So I don't know. Seems like, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I do want to do some business in this game. Just I haven't seen these Knick games just go off really. I don't think. I don't know. It seems reasonable enough though. And again, obviously, if Robinson is out, then if Brunson is out, then like you said, quickly Grimes I like actually. Grimes and Barrett I don't like that much, but for fantasy you kind of have to play him.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. All right, so the 9 p.m. game, the Phoenix. This is an interesting slate. We have none of the 8 o'clock games jump right to the 9. Phoenix and Utah. Okay, so I made a very, very big, strong case that Chris Paul or Devin Booker will be in my lineups as long as DeAndre Ayton's out. And DeAndre Ayton is coming back, it looks like, tonight. I still love Chris Paul here, and I'm okay with Ayton. I have it as Paul or Ayton. I'm still look, if you want to take a shot on Booker, that game can always come, the 50 real life point game. I don't know that this is the spot I'm going to do it, but I like Booker I like Paul or Ayton as my priorities in this game. And then if you need value later in the day, maybe as a placeholder, Torrey Craig. I did mention that I expect to see a little bit more TJ Warren starting to come into play. And we've seen that the last 2 games, 26 and 28 minutes, the last 2. And it was on a back-to-back. maybe this is the time where we get the TJ Warren play, and I actually kind of like it. You know what I mean? In those minutes, he gets some usage. Unfortunately, Ayton's back, so that cuts into it a little bit. But I think TJ Warren is a really good sneaky play. Who's currently projecting he's projected to play 20 minutes even. Like I said, he's played 28 and 26. He can eat up some of the Craig and Okogie minutes, and I think that he becomes like a really good play at 4,200. Remember, when this guy's had some time to get back to himself a little bit this year. And this is a guy who we were playing at, in the bubble. We were playing him at like 9K, and he was putting up 60 a game. But anyway, just the point is that he's talented, 4,200, and no one's going to play him. I can't find anything to do on the Utah side unless Markkanen's out. And even with Markkanen out, it's a really, really tough road to go. So I'm not having any luck on the Utah side. What do you got here?
Let me just see what's the Suns are looking like. So they're the 4. And like you mentioned, there's like a wall of horses, so to speak. Like between the 4 and the 12, like you said, there's 3.5 games.
Right.
So everybody's trying to win. First of all, for Utah, if Markkanen's out, I guess you can make a case for somebody. But you know what? Like everybody's kind of fairly priced at this point. So I'm probably off of Utah. And Phoenix, either Paul or Booker. I have them both rated both okay. The only guy I play for Utah is maybe Kessler, because I don't know. I've seen Ayton not play the greatest defense. So I think Kessler could be a low-owned play. That's possible. I don't know which I prefer between Booker and Paul. I guess you can make the case that because he's 10,000, people might not play him as much to play Booker. But yeah, I like one of those. I like one of those too. I mean, for me, they're not really as much of a priority as you might have them, but they're okay.
Yeah, it's more Paul for me. Just that I just think that like down the stretch, he's had the ball in his hands, and he put up a little bit of the low game in the game where they kind of controlled against Philly on the back-to-back. He only put up 32, but 43 before that, 51 a couple games before that. I think that I just feel it's safe with him, and I feel like there's a ceiling there in a very, very plus matchup at Utah. All right, Philadelphia, Denver. Okay, guys, I don't care what the projections say. That is the first thing I looked at on today's slate, and I will probably, as of right now, my plan would be to have Joel Embiid in all of my lineups, especially with any sort of questioning of whether he's going to play or not. He absolutely torched Denver with Jokic last time they played. He's clearly making an MVP bid as he's played every game down the stretch back-to-backs when they wanted to rest everything. At some point, they're kind of getting locked into that 3 seed pretty soon. They're only 2 up on the Cavs for the 3 seed, and they're 2.5 back of Boston for the 2 seed. I think they play it out. I don't know what to do with Harden, and obviously if we knew he was going to be out, Embiid will then be popular. Embiid is not going to be popular as of right now unless people really catch on to this. Embiid is a phenomenal play today. He's my favorite play on the slate. I think he's going to go completely nuts again against Denver. I think these games mean something. There was a lot of talk about that last one where he just was crazy and just dominated Jokic. I think you're going to see it again, and I think you're going to see a monster game out of him. I don't personally have anything that I love on the Denver side. If I had to make a pick, it would probably be Bruce Brown or Jamal Murray. But I will be all over Embiid whether Harden plays or not. If Harden does not play, because they priced up the other guys, I don't have as much interest in these values. Maybe you could talk me into to DeAnthony Melton or Maxey, but I personally am more on the Embiid. This is the Embiid game, and Bruce Brown and Murray are my only 2 run backs right now, unless you can find a way to get Jokic in there also. But I don't honestly love Jokic in this matchup.
Yeah, so you know what we'll do? Just for no other reason. We'll have some fun and we'll make a bet. These guys are Jokic is 11-4, Embiid is 11-5. They both project around 57, 58 fantasy points. I'm gonna go the other side.
What's your reasoning though?
I'm gonna go the narrative. I'm gonna go to the narrative that Jokic is like, okay, Embiid, you want the MVP? Fine, come into Denver and try to take it for me.
He's got it already. I don't think there's any question. I think it's either him. I don't think Jokic's in the running.
Even more to the point.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So I am going to go $1 on just straight up Jokic more fantasy points than Embiid. But I'm gonna need an if then. You know what I mean? If Harden's out, I'm not. You know what I mean? I can't do that.
Well, Harden very well may be out. That's the problem.
Okay, all right, fine. But like you said, if Harden's out, then Embiid, it'll be twice.
He'll be on more for the people who still have this swapability, but I don't know if he's going to be like shooting through the roof. Well, maybe he will. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Denver at altitude at Jokic and altitude to make for Jokic to make the reverse statement. So it doesn't make a difference at all because they're both because I can't very well say Embiid's a bad play.
Right.
But I do like them both, and I can't play them both. I think I can play. You could play them both. You know what you could do? You could play nothing until Philadelphia, Denver play them both, and then jam all the Portlands. You could certainly do that. That's actually I've done worse things. Let's put it that way. But I think you want some of that Dallas for some reason. To be honest, I don't care if I play a single guy from the Milwaukee Detroit game. I don't really think that unless Brunson's out, anybody's like a stone priority from the Houston game. I really don't think that the Utah Phoenix game is a particular priority either. So like if you played the Dallas game is really the only game before 9:30 that I think you really have to at least consider doing something.
I agree.
Yeah. So, but hey, you want what does that give you? Hold on. Let's just for fun. Let's put in Embiid and Jokic in the utility, and you get 4,500 a man. And just to remind ourselves who these guys are. Oh, 6,200 is no bargain, huh? So you're gonna need.
Keon Johnson though.
That's the first guy I put in. Yeah, the Keon Johnson.
Eubanks.
Eubanks, but he's a center.
So you can't use Eubanks.
So you can't do that.
He's power forward eligible on the
It's gonna be tough. You got to It's got to be Nasir Little season. You can do it, but it's gonna be easy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And by the way, the Nasir Little season is not a problem. They've only got like 10 guys. I have no problem with any of these guys because we don't remember. It's not just him who's missing. Watford's not in there either. Look, Archie Diacono was terrible the other night, and they actually sat him down the stretch. But I wouldn't even hesitate. I probably would consider even going back to him if you wanted to get that thin. Anyway, that's the game we're literally about. Was that the next one for you?
Yeah, the other thing I would like just to finish off this game, I kind of agree that Bruce Brown will be kind of my next guy. And aside from that, I mean, not a lot. Unless Harden's out, then then all those other Philly guys kind of sort of come into play also.
Yeah, and by the way, if I don't play Embiid here, I am totally breaking everything that I believe in as a DFS. So you can hold it against me later on today, but it's going to be really, really. If I don't, it's going to be really hard for me. I know it's early in the morning, whatever, but I'm probably playing Embiid.
I don't know, man. I see Embiid freaking just struggling to get all freaking exhausted in the fourth quarter. I don't know. Now he's going to go into Denver. I don't know. Good luck. We'll see what happens.
He only 88 against these guys last time.
In Denver? No,
not in Denver. But I don't know that it's going to matter all that much.
What they say. Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
I actually thought I'm still worried by the end of the day he ends up 30% owned or something.
Well, if Harden's out, you might get that.
Yeah, hopefully the Harden news will come late or not at all.
Yeah, but you know what? It's people want to listen. People are going to want to spend the money on Kyrie right off the bat, and if you want to do that, and then you want to get Eubanks as one of the centers, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to just commit. But I guess it is. I don't know. These are the two. I mean, but there's Kyrie. I think Embiid and Jokic. Giannis is fine, but that blowout risk is going to keep people off him. But if you didn't like any of that, what about Sabonis in his next game, huh?
Okay, so that's interesting.
I got him at 5% ownership or less. And considering how awesome a play Embiid probably is, and how probably like a lockish type value Eubanks is, and then there's Jokic and all this stuff. I mean, you're gonna get Sabonis with no ownership, and all the dude does is smash.
He does, but he doesn't really smash. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't put up numbers like these guys do. He's putting up 50 somethings. Okay, great. He should be putting up 50.
A couple of 60s and 70s. There's a 70.
Yeah, sure there is. And for Embiid, it's like, oh, he's at 70, and then he also has a couple hundreds in there.
And Embiid's got like 55 at the half sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And Embiid, we've just seen it down the stretch. It's just I don't know. We're moving past it. On to Minnesota. So in this Minnesota Sacramento game, you're not going to see a lower price on Anthony Edwards. I'll tell you that. 8,800. I don't necessarily trust it. I don't trust him necessarily. It's a great matchup. He just, he had the games where he was hurt. He had to sit out. You have Karl Anthony Towns back, who's probably out tonight, I would imagine, because it's a back-to-back. But they're desperate to win games. So it's a very tricky situation here. Karl Anthony Towns is one of those who's listed as doubtful and not being projected for any fantasy points. That very well may end up starting tonight. So I have no idea what to do with that specific piece. I like Edwards. I can't deny what Kyle Anderson's been doing. Like it's pretty impressive actually. Like he's really become like the other guy, and he's not even like projected to start if Karl Anthony Towns plays. He put up 48 the other night. He's a wide range of outcomes guy. I don't think I'm going to do anything on this. It feels like I always want to target Sacramento. They're the best offense in the NBA. And one of the worst defenses, partly because they play so fast. There's just a lot of guys for Minnesota now. If Cat's out, I might have to do something. But is Gobert really going to be my favorite play in this game?
Another center, right? Huh?
Another one, yeah. I mean, I can't find anything that I feel great about.
I kind of like the idea of playing Anthony Edwards. He's going to project for like no fantasy points.
Yeah.
Especially and coming off the last game, 35 minutes with like 0.2x or something, not even. You know what I mean? Like he had 24 freaking fantasy points at whatever that's 8,900. I don't know. I still think he's got 50 plus in him, like without much of an aggravation. And you get the Sacramento bump. God forbid you get Towns out, like you said. I mean, I think he's going to be no percent owned. And I kind of like it actually.
Yeah, I'll definitely be open to that one. It's just, yeah. I mean, remember also, Cat played the last game. If Cat doesn't play tonight, he should get it. His usage will go up. He had one of his lowest usage games of the season, the last game, Anthony Edwards. But the minutes should make you feel good, right? Like he played 34 minutes, which had injury in the first of a back-to-back. I think that he's gonna. And look, talk about desperate to win. Minnesota could, by the end of the day, be the 11 seed, right? They could be the 11 seed, they could be the 10 seed, or they could be the 6 seed. So it's a wide range of things. They definitely need to try to win every game going down the stretch. So I can talk myself into the Edwards play. De'Aaron Fox at home is a totally different guy than he is on the road, and we haven't seen great games, and he sat the last one. We haven't seen a great game for a while. There's been some blowouts. He got hurt against Phoenix. He was on his way to a good game in that one. It was early in the third, so we didn't get the fourth quarter, craziness out of him. I think at low ownership and a cheap price, De'Aaron Fox is a reasonable guy to run back if you want to play Towns. And I don't really have I'm okay with Sabonis, but I just think I like too many other bigs. So I don't really have anybody else that's showing up for me. But I did want to mention, how about the run we've seen? I played Kevin Huerter so many times this year at 0% ownership, and then he decides to go for 54 and 48 his last two. Yeah. And it's not all just because he was hot. He was 2 for 9 in the last game from 3. He's got the steals. He gets, he's just active. The rebounds. He's attacking a lot, shooting more free throws. I just think that 28% usage rate a couple games in a row, boy, that kind of kills. And that's partly because Fox was out for a portion of one game and then out for the whole other game. But as of right now, I think Fox is my favorite, and nobody else quite makes the cut for me. But shout out to Keegan Murray for proving that he's a better than a 5K player, and he's been 40-something hundred most of the year. He finally finding his groove right now. But yeah, it's really just Fox and Edwards is my interest in this game. But it could be I mean, this game might end up being like 135 to 130. Just it feels like you'd want to do more. I just can't find it. How about you? Anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Well, then let's move on.
Let's take a
All right.
okay. So New Orleans, Portland. First of all, I wouldn't mind taking another shot at CJ McCollum going back to Portland. We tried this at the beginning of March, and it was fair enough. I mean, he was like 7,500. He went for like 40, 42. I mean, not the best, not the worst. I would take another shot at this. It's obviously a little better. It would be a better situation if lower were playing, but nonetheless, I mean, that's definitely something to think about. But the real, obviously, the real value from this game is coming from. The real value is coming from Portland. But before I get to it, I will also say that, I mean, Najee Marshall at 3,700 wouldn't be the worst play ever made either. But all the values coming from Portland today. Now, according to the projections, there's Eubanks at like 7.5x, and then you have Nasir Little, Shaden Sharp even at 6,200, looking to be a good point per dollar play. And then the Keon Johnson. I mean, I'd just like to say that, with respect to this Keon Johnson thing, I mean, it's not like he's 3K. He's 4,300. He played 21, 26 minutes, and he did just kind of all right. But if he's going to be like really popular somehow, I mean, he probably will be, right? I mean, I would go back to Cam Reddish if you want to know the truth. I mean, like. It's I don't know why he would get that much less minutes at 20, 22 minutes again for him too. I know that it's, I guess people prefer to play Keon Johnson. I guess Portland would rather play Keon Johnson or whatever. Or it's not like Reddish is 40. Like they want to get him.
I don't know if they want to get him anything personally.
I don't know.
Everybody gets Reddish realize the same thing, that he's basically one of the worst net negative players in NBA, literally in one of NBA history. He's the only guy to ever be the worst player in terms of on-off numbers 3 different years, and he's only played 3 years. So I'm just telling you, I wouldn't. They only have 10 guys, so he's of course in play tonight. But
that's what I'm saying.
What's that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know. We have to watch the ownership. I have Eubanks at 50%. I have Little at 50%. Like both of these guys, 50% ownership right off the bat. I also am not exactly sure that Shaden Sharp is such a lock at 6,200. I mean, I like playing him at like 4K coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like whatever. I don't know if I want to just jam him in at 6,200 starting. I don't know, but.
Can I tell you his numbers though? Like his minutes?
I see it. I know. I see it.
Okay.
I see it.
I hear you. I hear the feeling of lock, but first of all, there has to be fantasy points scored here. They have 10 bodies. They are missing their 4 most active offensive players.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible that some of these guys don't get, like literally impossible. We've done this before.
Yeah.
The guys who I thought you were going to mention, I think Kevin Knox would be the sneaky play.
No, that's your sneaky play. You liked it.
Well, I think Kevin Knox is just as much. He's just younger than Reddish. As at this point, you got to call him at least as good of a prospect as Reddish.
I guess so.
Neither of them are there, and you get the discount on Knox. They're all in the mix for me, but I think that so. Well, let me just touch really quickly. Najee Marshall, Josh Richardson, these guys are all fine. I have no problem. Their prices make sense. It's just a matter of if we're going to weigh it against the Portland potential value. I do like the idea of the CJ McCollum going back. I think that's something I could do because I would like a run back because I will be playing the Portland guys, starting with Eubanks and Sharp, followed by Keon Johnson. They've got Watford as questionable. Just wait for everybody's projections to shoot way the hell up if Watford is out, because I've got Watford as projected to be out on NBA.com. And if he is out, then you're down to your 10 bodies. And who's gonna do it?
This the guy on my screen is the guy that's gonna win all the money.
Which one? Jabari Walker, Maki's son. He is. He's another one in play. But right now, I'm not discounting anyone from Portland. Nasir Little is one of my favorite plays. I think Sharp, Eubanks, Little, then Keon Johnson in terms of order of playability.
Oh, well, that's for sure. But we've seen this, right? You know, like if those guys get all the cheese, you know what I mean? They get all the ownership. this game could be just a shit show. You know what I mean?
You get a shit show. At least 2 of them smash. I think.
But what I mean is that you get these Jabari Walker maybe, so these guys like that, or like you said, or Kevin Knox, you know, that you know, no one's under orders to pass the ball, you know, in this game, you know. So who's to say that these guys don't get there? I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously that Watford news is something I think we'll have it earlier in the day, because right now I've got him on some sites projecting to play and some sites not. If he's completely out, I think that you're going to have to load up this game with at least 2, probably 3.
Or maybe how about just like, listen, people were playing Matthias Theibel at like 40% ownership when these other guys were playing. You know what I mean? Like maybe you just you take the minutes from him somehow.
The only problem with Thibault is that he sort of is better with those guys. Like,
yeah, maybe.
You know, he's better with the guys who create him a shot here and there and whatnot. It's pretty wild to just, I mean, as of right now, I've got it as a minimum of 2 or 3 from Portland. I probably will lean the 3 to 4 because, at least in my early builds, because you're just going to want exposure late in the day, and you have enough value. And I'm not discounting anyone. Not Archie Diacono, not Reddish, not Knox, not Walker. All of those guys are on my list right now. I'm considering seriously, and Thibault is probably the last one. But again, like you said, he's viable. If the game is, I would play Thibault if I'm playing a run back. I don't think I would play Thibault with no run back, just because you're kind of counting on the game to stay close. He's an actual true starter who's a part of their future. His way of getting there is going to be through minutes, not from production. All that stuff is just why I would have Thibault lower rated, but also I would have him considered for stacks. So anyway. All right. Okay. Well, sorry, not OKC. Chicago.
I'll go LAC. I really don't have anything. The only thing I would say is that if he were cheaper, which he is not, I think we would have a lot of fun if we could play somehow Pat Beverly like 3,700 going back to LA. But he's not. He's like 5,300.
Probably falling out too.
What's that?
Just kidding. I said he's probably falling out too.
Yeah. So I'm probably off this.
Yeah, I think that, like, in terms of early, like, you should have, I think, some Caruso in your early build, just because, like, he's another value play that you can always just swap off of later on to that Portland stuff, depending on what who we see is starting and all that. So I don't mind Caruso as a placeholder. And I don't think I would get stuck with him on a night like tonight, but even if I did, it's not like the worst situation in the world. Not great. Look, Levine, DeRozan, both LA guys. Levine has been on a little bit of a kick lately and played really, really well in real life. I think that you're probably just not going to play these guys tonight. And it's, I would like to play a target against the Clippers. They've been really bad defensively, but I don't think I can get there. On the Clippers side, are we sure that the Kawhi is not, a reasonable play at 10-1? Like, I know his efficiency was out of control a couple games ago, and he was terrible in the last one against New Orleans. They got smashed at home by New Orleans somehow. I just think he's in play. And I can tell you this: Westbrook's numbers, his median projection is much higher than what is being projected. You've had some really fluky games lately. And I'm not sure that's going to continue, but I still don't think we need to play him tonight. So, yeah, probably off this game as well, unless we hear some late weird news, which feels weird without Paul George, but there's just too many other plays on the slate. And real quickly, I'll highlight my favorites. It's all of Portland, and in order, I guess I'll go, Eubanks and Sharp, and then assuming that Watford's out, Eubanks and Sharp. Otherwise, Sharp, then Little, then Keon Johnson, and then you get into the Reddish, Archie Diacono, Knox. Do I want to take the Jabari Walkers? Do I want to take those shots? And it's really just going to depend on a lot whether Watford plays. But I assume right now that he's probably not going to. I like CJ McCollum as a run back. I'm open to the Anthony Edwards idea as low ownership. I'm definitely high on Embiid to play with these Portland guys. TJ Warren is another value that I'm open to, but I think mostly it's Paul or Ayton for me in that game. Kyrie, and then I'm interested a little bit in the Dallas value, but with all the stuff coming up later, not really sure this value is better. So Kyrie, Hardy, and Wood all look pretty good, but I don't think you have to play these guys, and it's how much of that Dallas game that I play depends whether Halliburton plays. because I can then find, the cheap run backs and then sort of combine it with the Portland / Embiid play as my main builds. So let's see. Wesley asking in chat, what Drew Holiday frees up some value. He just certainly doesn't free up any value. He's 7,600. Oh, is he out? Did we hear something about Drew Holiday being out? Because I have Drew Holiday as in, unless that news came on while we're on the air. I don't know. But I don't know I don't know. He's fine. 7,600 is reasonable, but there's just so many plays tonight. I don't think I'm getting to him. Sheets, did you have anything else to add before we bounce
Not really.
Our $1 bet with Embiid versus Jokic fantasy points today?
It'll be a good game.
It should be. My only fear is that maybe a weird Denver blowout or something.
It's happened before.
Yeah, I just feel so secure with Embiid tonight anyway. All right, good luck to everybody. I'll see you guys live at 6 Eastern.
I'll be there at 6. I'll be there at 6 as well.
Sheets will be there with me as well. And let's make some money tonight, everybody. Good luck.